By a 69 to 31% margin, California voters passed Proposition 36. The ballot measure will allow over 3,500 nonviolent three-strikers to petition the courts to reduce their sentences to time served.
This change is huge, and there's almost, in my opinion, nothing more important that we're doing in my office right now besides trying to get these guys who were sent away on non-serious nonviolent felonies out of prison.
Essentially, we're going back to the same judge who decided sometimes 15 years ago that this individual should spend 25 to life in prison, and we're having to convince them otherwise.
The voters of the state of California have decided that we no longer want to put people away for life for 2 grams of cocaine. I believe that we all would be better off if he was released.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be in the courtroom today. I just hope you can find mercy in your heart to find me suitable for resentencing.
You do not pose an unreasonable risk to public safety, being that Mr. Simon has served over and above the maximum term for which he was sentenced. He is ordered release.
My name is Angela Burtz, and I live in San Mateo, California, but I'm from East Palo Alto, and I'm the Director of Diversity and Outreach Specialist at Menlo School in Atherton, and that's an independent private school, 6th through 12th grade. So I'm the director for the entire school. My father is serving a 32 years to life sentence, and he's already served 18 years. At this age in my life, I'm 27 years old, I still have a very positive and a strong relationship with my father. I will say that as I'm getting older, it's almost like I need him more. So him being incarcerated is getting harder and harder and harder. When I was 14, I got accepted to attend Menlo School where I work now. And that was my first time going to school in an environment outside of East Palo Alto. So I didn't have my childhood friends with me or my neighborhood friends, and I was the only African American in my class. So I never had that experience where I was at a predominantly white school. And my dad, he told me about the time when he moved to Mountain View. They went to public school, but at the time it wasn't a lot of African Americans. So he had a hard time too. So he sent the book to me, Warriors Don't Cry. And basically that was about the Little Rock Nine, Melma, who went through that experience and what that was like to be in that school. So I kind of read that book, and it made me feel, first, I wasn't the only person that ever been in a situation where, I was the only black girl trying to receive an education. So that opened my eyes to that. And then it also helped me realize that because of people that were involved in Little Rock Nine, that really gave me an opportunity to be a part of a school like that, because it was a very hard place to be, but I learned a lot and I gained a lot of opportunities from being in that environment. So that was one of those letters I still remember, and I talked to him about it because I really needed that. every step of the way. I checked in with him about everything. When I was at Lake Forest, I talked to him often. He would call the dorm room. He's really supported me along with my mother and my stepfather, Chris. But again, it's hard because there's like a physical barrier. So I would have loved him to be at every graduation I had, especially Stanford, because he was the only person that wasn't there. So right now he is 54, going on 55. I accepted that he had to do time. I accepted that a long time ago. When you asked me the question about like how have I noticed that my dad has changed, I knew after 10 years like, wow, my dad really has changed. When I think of a prison, I do think that for certain individuals it corrects them. It's a time of reflection for them to think about the things in which they have done to get them in that situation, and I think that he learned that a long time ago. I don't think he's angry anymore. Although he's been incarcerated, it has been hard, but that didn't really stop him from being a good father to me. So I'm really confident in his ability to be able to have this second chance and really have a good life and be a part of my life and my friends and my family. So more than anything, I'm just very, very excited about it.
We are about to go in and fight for a judge to release Lisa Coulter after 18 years being in prison, serving a 25 to life sentence.
We're here to support Lisa Coulter, who was lifed 18 years ago on a non-violent offense, and we're going to see if we can get some justice.
Sentenced to life, it's just you have to kill yourself in order to get up and do your day. Maybe you make a phone call home and you allow yourself 10 minutes of emotion, but after years you just don't do that. And after pretty much 10 years I eliminated people from my life. So I happened to pick up something that was, Judge Cordell was against the strike law, and I had no idea, I just wrote her.
I get her letter. I have the same attitude, like I get it, yeah, okay. So I read it, there was something about what she wrote that said to me, at least look into this.
Our supervisor in my office asked if I wanted to work on a special project, and she started talking to me about Lisa and her case. Then I wrote her a letter, short, but it said, "Hi, I'm Megan. I'm interested in your case, and I want to see if I can help you, and I'm going to come visit you."
We continue to help you prepare for the upcoming elections. Tonight, we focus on Proposition 36. It would change California's 3 strikes law and allow thousands of inmates in prison to apply for resentencing.
How long has it been since you've seen your mom?
It's been about 20 years.
When I go in there with my checklist of questions and all the things we need to talk about, I'm sure there are days where I maybe seem cold. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's a whole emotional human side that sometimes it's easier to put away than to actually feel.
Mama! I'm right here!
I told my husband on the way here, I said the hardest part of this is not going in there, it's not seeing her, it's leaving without her.
The moment when she said, "but," I just knew that this is how it needs to be.
I'm so proud of you.
I saw a man standing outside the stream of life. He spent his days among the dead, who lived the death of strife. Crime was murder, some had said, while others said it was theft. This awful statue of the dead never looked right nor left. But as his blood bled away, so had his will been snapped. I strained to hear what he might say, this man who men had trapped. With vacant eyes he seemed to be like one who walked in a trance. Out of those eyes the man could see, but no key was in his glance. The hole was there, but just a stare with fire life had burned. For greetings fair he did not care, these absolute he did despair. Men didn't tack this awful price, a wayward youth now grown. Society's dread device left no soul of his own. His mind is but a chunk of ice, held in a frozen zone. They said he had a debt to pay, default was all its own. When virtue, justice had his way, mercy the coop had flown. He labored hard day after day, just like a big machine. The same old ways, one sterling madness routine. As the year were gone with happy songs, he saw his friends go free. But when the years of hope were gone, he did not care nor see. Without a hope, without a song, what matters it, he said. A man not mad, a man not dead. What is this that men had made? A living man whose soul has fled. Let's call a spade a spade. Old friend, where's mercy spend? Where can her face be found? Unless justice and she be wed, there is no holy ground. What man dares to ask for justice, for you cry, do I not outworst thee? So forget not the helpless poor who stands outside life's stream, behind some cruel prison door, but lives within a dream. For some mistake he made before, ages taught him life's ways. I said remember him before he's old, bent and gray, before his mind leaves this place, and leave the brain to rule. A beast man with a pokered face, too dumb to be a fool, cursed by the noble human race, to die a slaving tool.
It's 1968, and I live in Los Angeles. In 1968, there were only 11 prisons in the state of California and 28,000 people incarcerated in their walls.
You know, at a very young age, there was a workbench in the garage at the home that I lived at. And I recall getting underneath that bench and hiding, and my older brother would have his friends in the garage, and they would be talking about the interactivity of the gangs that they belonged to. And I remember, you know, at that time thinking, wow, you know, I really wanted to be a part of that. And I also recall thinking, wow, I just wanted to come out from underneath that bench and just say, you know what, use me. Here I am, put me to work. And boy, did I long for that day to come.
Yeah, for me it was different. My mom was never at home. She worked all the time. She worked from 7 in the morning to 3 at night, then from 3:30 to 11:30. I played baseball, I played sports, but my mom never came to any of the games. She could never come. If she ever came, she would have recognized and realized that my uniform was different than everybody else's. She messed it up, she bleached them. But you know, I look back on that now and think my mom tried her best. She did everything she could. But the truth of the matter was, I was alone. I was always alone.
By 1994, the prison population in California was up by 500%, and the state was embarking on a prison construction boom that would result in 20 additional prisons, and at its peak, 170,000 people would be incarcerated in those institutions. Politicians were trumpeting about personal safety and violence, but it wasn't until a personal tragedy that befell the Class family that the state of California converged around the 3 strikes law. It passed in California, spread to the federal government, and ultimately 26 states would pass versions of the three strikes law. But what Californians didn't know was that unlike other states, in California, you could be sentenced to life for petty crimes. I could have put up slides about how much it costs to house people in state prison, because for certain, the dialogue that we're having now about prison reform and mass incarceration centers and resonates most when we talk about money. But the cost that I want to talk about is, what does it mean to really sit with the reality that 3 out of 4 people in prison are people of color? Because that cost, the cost of the decimation of entire generations of people, that cost is incalculable.
Almost 8 months ago, after almost 19 years, Jessica secured my release. And, you know, although there was a time when I felt that I was gonna die in there, and I started mending my relationships with the people that I had hurt, I want you to know that I am very sorry for what I've done in the past. And because I'm out, I have tried really hard to try to mend those relationships back to where they're at, especially with my 2 beautiful daughters.
With me, I never thought I did enough to stay life in prison. I never did enough. So I just knew I had to do the things that were going to be necessary to get home and be home. And if I wasn't going to get home, then I was going to make my life better or someone else's better. I don't have any children, but I took parenting classes. I went to college. I also worked as a mentor. You know, I'm looking forward to celebrating 11 years clean and sober.